for today's tutorial, I'm going to be using these opaque beads. The base is made from size 8 seed beads. You can use any brand, it doesn't matter. And then on the top, I'm using Czech size 10 seed beads. So you can also use your size 11 Japanese seed beads, Miyuki, Toho, things like that if you want to. It's up to you which colors you use. I'm going to begin by making myself a little right angle weave base. You can do this single needle. I'm going to do it double needle. There's a couple of different methods. The reason that you might want to choose the different methods is how neat and regular the back of your design will be. So for example, if we have a look, hopefully you can see it just here. If you have a look at the back, see how it's not so regularly shaped looking, this right angle weave. This was done with single needle right angle weave. And then if you want to compare it, for example, with this one here, where you can see all of those dead straight lines up and down, giving you that nice cross shape, hexagonal, neat, accurate lines happening there. This is done with the 2 needle method. So I'll show you one method for single needle, and then I'll show you 2 different methods. One which is like the regular method, and then a second one which is like a fancy pants new method that I come up with while I was making this design, which is way, way quicker. So if you stick around, you'll see both of those, all 3 of those, before we move on. So like I said, I am going to be using size 8 seed beads for my base, which are these ones just here. I've chosen an opaque color just because I think that it'll be easier for you guys to see. So to begin, grab yourself a length of thread. I'm using Spider beading thread as per usual, and put a needle onto both ends. So once we have that, we can just thread our needles on to both sides, like so. And we can see I've got a needle on one side, a needle on the other. And the easiest way to begin is just pick up 3 beads, and we're going to slide them down to the middle of our thread just here. So see that? There's 3 little beads. I'll move these out the way so that it's a little clearer for you to see. So there's my 3 beads. Bring it roughly to the middle, and now what I'm going to do is with a 4th bead, I'm going to take 1 needle through it in one direction, and then I'll take my other needle. So see how this thread is going in this direction? We're going to take our other needle through this same bead, but in the opposite direction. So back in this direction over here. So one thread goes this way, one thread goes that way. And then when I pull that all the way through, I want to make sure that it is nicely in the center. So I'll hold both needles together, and then I can just slide this down until I find the middle of my work just there. And you can see this is going to create our first little right angle weave. So that little cross of beads, that is called a right angle weave. So the standard method for how you do right angle weave with 2 needles, the standard 2 needle method, essentially you pick up 1 thread on the left, you pick up one bead on the left, 1 bead on the right, and we're going to thread those down to the top of our little piece just here. So there we are. Now I'm going to go once again, pick up 1 little bead. I'm going to take 1 needle through it in this direction, the other needle through it in that direction just there. So opposite directions to one another. So thread on through there, just like so. Pull that all the way through. And then I'll take the next one in the opposite direction as well. And we're going to go all the way through this one too. So now just pull on these threads, and you'll see it's all going to just come down until it sits nice and neatly on top, there we go, of our previous little right angle weave. So it doesn't matter if it comes a little bit loose, because as we work, it will stay nice and tight. But there you can see they are very, very nicely shaped, that these 2 beads go out to the side and the other one goes to the top. And I'm going to do this again, this little method here. So I'll pick up 1 needle on the left, 1 needle on the right, like so. I'm going to slide that on down, and now I'm going to pick up 1 more bead, and I'm going to take both needles through it in opposite directions. Now I'll show you the 1 needle method. So the 1 needle method is very, very similar, essentially, but we're just going to do the whole process with just 1 thread. So if I take this 1 needle, I'm going to pick up all 3 beads. So this one's going to be the side bead here, this one is going to be the top bead up here, and this one is going to end up being the bead that's over on this side here. Now the 1 needle method, I will admit, is a little bit quicker than the standard 2 needle method. For sure it is. But like I said, I don't find that the finished design actually ends up being as neat because of this process just here. So each one of these beads has one thread going through it, except now this one, because I need to come back to the top up here, I'm going to have to go through this bead. So one side has two threads going through it, the other side only has one thread going through it, and that gives us that slight imbalance between the different sides of our right angle weave. So now, for example, this side is going to be tighter than the bead on this side. You can continue doing that single needle method if you don't like doing two needle method. So I'll do it once more in that I'll pick up 3 beads and we'll slide that on down to the bottom. We'll go through, so we're looping around in a circle, and as we pull tight through here, that's going to create the next little right angle weave that's going to sit above our work, and now we're going to go up this edge bead and then up to the top bead there. So like I said, the thing with this method, it is probably quicker, it's probably a little bit easier compared to standard 2 needle method, but it does give it sort of an irregular tension along those beads. So you can do it like this. You won't struggle. It's just that when it comes to actually adding your chevrons on top, it can be a little bit more difficult to see exactly which bead you need to go into, because it will just depend on the tension. So I'm going to just bring my other needle up to the top, and then I'll show you my new 2 needle method, which is way, way quicker. It is 1,000,000 times quicker, I tell you, than doing it the standard single needle method. It's faster than that, and it's also quicker than the original 2 needle method, obviously. So let's just end up so that we're both coming out of the same bead so that I can continue with 2 needle right angle weave. The cool thing about this version of, I say in inverted commas, two needle right angle weave, is because you can actually do it with 1 needle, because you're going to do 1 step at a time. So it will use 2 threads, but you only need to use 1 needle at a time, so you can do all of it with just 1 needle if you only have 1. So anyway, if I just slide this on down, what I'm going to do now is actually pick up lots and lots of beads, which are going to give me the full length of my design. So I won't pick up too many, just so that it doesn't take too long. We'll go 6 beads. Maybe I'll go 8, 7, 8. An even number is what we need. So there we go. I've got my 8 beads here now. So this strand, I can now put this down, and if I was working, if I wanted to make like a full length bracelet, or if I wanted to make like my wrap bracelet, you can do pretty much the full length of your wrap bracelet, which is really, really long, in one single go like this. So you can do the full length like that, hold that there. Then you come in with your second needle like this, and what we're going to do is pick up a bead, and then we're going to go backwards through every second bead. So we skip the first bead, and we go down into the second bead. So just pull that tight just there. Then I'll pick up 1 more bead, and I'm going to skip the first bead and go backwards. So the reason I say backwards is, see how this thread is going up in this direction? Let's bring this thread downwards towards our work very quickly. I'm going to do a full video on this method, like a pre-recorded one, a bit later. So once you've done 2 little right angle weaves, see how it's a little bit loose at the beginning here? See, like that? You can just give that a little tug, get it all nice and tight, and that will fix that right angle weave. So now, again, all 4 beads are on this needle. I'll take 1 bead in this direction. So pick up 1 bead, we'll go skip the first bead and down the second one, all the way. And then we will pick up 1 bead more, and we'll skip a bead and go down this one here as well. Pull like that, and now just pull tight, and there you go. Look how quick that was. We made the second half of our right angle weave in a fraction of the time that it took us to do this first section. So it is really, really quick to do it in this method, see? So you can just keep going if you want to, and make it even longer. I'm going to just keep this one short so that the demonstration is a little bit quicker, but that is my method for how you can start your right angle weave. There's a second part to it which I think you will love, which I will also show you in just a moment. But essentially, once you've got this, we're going to now weave across so that we're coming out from one side of our work. We need to make our right angle weave section double the width so that we have something that we can actually attach our chevrons onto at the base. Now what we want to do, because we want to add that second row, we want to make sure we're exiting from one of these side beads. I'm going to weave around so that I'm exiting from this little bead just here. So in terms of this thread over here on this side, all I have to do is come down and out of that bead. With this thread, I'm going to weave around, so go from this one into this bead at the bottom, and then out of that bead as well. So one thread will be going up in this direction, and the other thread will be coming down here. So I'll just do this very, very quickly. We'll go down into here. The good thing about doing this as well is that this little method will also firm this last little right angle weave a little bit more, just to make it that little bit firmer so that it's not going to come loose when we're doing our work or anything like that. So I can just go up that little bead there too. We'll pull through here. Come on now. All the way through. See how it's getting a bit loose? Don't worry about that. It will all tighten in just a minute. So if I just take the second needle now, back down and through this little bead here, this is the thread that is coming out up the top. When we come down here, you can see it is now, both threads are coming out this little side. So when I give both of these threads a tug in opposite directions, you'll soon see that they start to, they now stick out nicely from this one bead and sort of help to tighten things up a bit. So there you go. I'll rotate it sideways so you can see that I'm now coming out of the side of my work. See that? I'm coming out of this side of my work. So now that I'm here, I'm going to work along my work here, adding more beads. I'll show you the, first things first, what we're going to do is add on the first little right angle weave, which will be at the top. So this one, I'm going to use like the single needle type method for this so that it's a little bit quicker. So essentially what I'm going to do is pretend like how I was doing it before. I'm going to just add one group of beads here. And how I'll do that, I'll do it as though it was one needle for now. We're going to go, this will make it a little bit more secure, because it's important to try and make your endmost ones try and be that little bit more secure, because if these ones are all firm and tight, it will help the center to stay firm and tight as well. So anyway, I'll take this one through here, which will bring me around there. There we go. See that? That's going to create myself that first little right angle weave. And now because I want to work along my work in this direction, I need to make sure I'm exiting from this bead here, finally. So when we're currently coming out of here, I can go through 1 and 2, pull it all the way through, like that. And now we can go, we want both of our threads to be exiting this one edge bead, so I'll take one needle through it in one direction, like that, and now I'll get it out the way and I'll bring my other needle also through that same bead. So see how I'm currently exiting from this bead just here? I'm going to take my needle through that same bead. So we kind of always want to end up so that we've got one bead coming out of both sides. See, like that? So now if you were going to, whoops, I'll just move it up a little. There we are. So now if we were going to do the one needle method, basically you would pick up two little beads. This is the one needle method here. So two beads, and then if you imagine this bead here is going to become the top of this, like the edge of this right angle weave here. So if you think this is one side of a right angle weave, this is the other, we need a bead here and we need a bead here. So this one is going to become the bead over here, this one is going to become the bead up here, which means we need to go down through this bead and across into this. So these four beads here, the two that my needle are through plus this, are going to be the ones that give me that little right angle weave. So see that? There's that next right angle weave just there on that particular line. So see, we've got a right angle weave here and we have another one just here, but once again we need to move ourselves up so that we're exiting from this bead here. So let's just go through there and through this one, and that would bring us into position ready to add our next right angle weave. So if we were going to continue in one needle, you would look at it and you would go, this is going to be the bottom, this is going to be one side, so we need a bead that's going to be at the top and a bead that's going to be at the bottom. So if this is going to be one side, we're going to have to go through that bead, then pick up two beads, 1, 2, and then we're going to go through these same two beads again to give us 3, 4. So that when we pull that is going to give us our little right angle weave just there. See that? So this is, I tell you, you're getting a full tutorial on right angle weave here. You're going to learn all the things. This is how we do our next. So that's the method for how you do single needle right angle weave. We're going to continue in 2 needle method. So the cool thing about this is when you're doing 2 needle method, like this, we know that whichever thread is coming out on the inside of our work, we're going to take that through the next bead along. So we start by going through that first bead along our work. There we go. So that is coming out there. This thread is now going to be up here and into there. Now what we'll do is on our second thread here, because we've got, if we look at it, this bead down here is going to be the bottom. This is going to be one side. We need 1 bead at the top and 1 bead on the side there. So if I use this bead just here, sorry, this thread just here, just re-thread my needle real quick. There we go. If you have a look, like I said, we want to add a bead here, and then we want 1 bead here. Now, if you've been paying close attention to how this right angle weave business with 2 threads works, we pretty much always end up with both threads coming out the same, of opposite sides of this same section. So if you of this same little bead here. So the first thing I'm going to do is pick up 1 bead, which is going to be this one here. And now I need to just pick up 1 bead that both threads are going to go through. So if we have a look at that, I will take 1 bead, 1 needle through that bead, and I'll take my other needle here through that same bead, but see how this thread goes in this direction? We're going to go in the opposite direction, and then when we pull that tight, that's going to sit nicely in that little position there, and we're ready to continue. Now if we have a look, like I said, I'll do it once more. See how this thread is on the inside, like towards the inside of our work? We want to continue. So the next thing, the first thing we do is go up that edge just there. So go through there, and now we're ready to add our next right angle weave. So I'll do it in the exact same way, and then I'm going to show you the Speedy Gonzalez method, my new method, which is way quicker. So we're going to pick up 1 bead, which is going to go there, and just to make life a bit quicker, I'll pick up the 1 bead, which is also going to go there. I'll thread them down, and I'll take my second needle. See how we're going through it in this direction? My second needle is going to come back through that bead in the opposite direction, and then as we pull them both tight, just bring my thread over here. As we pull that tight, ta-da, that's nicely in position, and we are ready to continue. Now, are you ready for the Speedy method, the Speedy DD method? Personally, I think I'm very clever for this. Not to sound big-headed or anything. No, but I think you'll like this. So if you liked how I did my Speedy DD method at the beginning, if you have a look, so first things first, we want to make sure that we're exiting from one of these sort of edge beads here. So let's go through that very first one here. And so if we were doing normal 2 needle method, we'd pick up 1 and then we would cross over. But wait till you see this. I think you're going to like it. This is going to be easier to see if I turn my work sideways. So there we are. If I pick up, ready? This is gonna blow your minds. I think. Let's pick up 1, 2, 3 beads, and then see how we've got these edge beads. We're going to skip the next one. See that? So there's that edge bead. We're going to skip this one. And we're going to pass into the second one. See, just like this here. So pass through there, pull that tight. Not very tight, but a little bit tighter. And now we're ready to continue. Pick up 3 more beads, 1, 2, 3, and you can work all the way down your bracelet doing this. So pick up 3 more, skip 1, and go into the second one. So because I've got like an odd number of ends, I can't do it because there isn't one to attach to this next part. But if it was longer, you could just keep going until until you're exiting either from the very, very last right angle weave or from the very second last right angle weave. So now that we're here, now we can start on our next method to start turning these into right angle weave. So I'll do it in my hand so that you can see exactly where the beads are. So if you have a look, this is the first group of 3 beads. So see that? There's the first 3 beads on my finger just here. So if you have a look, what we need to do now, when the thread is on the outside, because we want to create a right angle weave, we want a bead to be sitting here, we're going to pick up 1 bead and we're going to go backwards. So see that group of 3 beads that we added? there they all are. We're going to go backwards through the first one. Pull that through, and that creates our first right angle weave. Now, with my thread exiting down here, I'm going to go forwards through the edge bead that I missed earlier. Pull that tight, and now we're going to go backwards again through the third bead. So this was the first bead, this is the second, now here's the third bead. So we go up that third bead, backwards, and that's going to bring us, now you can pull your threads tight every now and again, and that's going to create a second right angle weave. So now we're on the outside again, so let's pick up one bead, and if you have a look, here's our next group of 3 beads just here. I'll do it flat on the table this time so that you can see it a little bit better. So if we have a look, here is that group of 3 beads just there. I'll get them a little looser so you can see, like that. Coming out of here, we're going to go backwards through the first one, pull it through. We're going to go along the bottom to the one that is disconnected, the loose one, but we're going to go through it forwards, like so. And then we're going to go backwards through the third bead. So we go backwards, forwards, backwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, backwards, forwards, backwards. And then all of a sudden, ta-da, you've got all these right angle weaves. You can see now, unfortunately, I can't do that method again. So you just have to do your normal right angle weave method for the final couple. So if we just have a look just here, I'll go pick up 2 beads. It's a shame. You would have to do just one more, but I'm going to have to do 2 more iterations just to make sure. But we'll get ourselves nicely at the end. So that'll just finish it off. But when you're doing a really long piece, it saves so much time in the long run when you can use this method. So there we go. Let's just cross that over. Take this down here. Obviously, you would have more than just 2 iterations with which you would do it. But when you do it like that, it ends up so much quicker. So then this one here. And now I'll just do my last little right angle weave. I'm going to go 1, 2, slide it on down, and then I'll just go in the opposite direction through that last bead, pull that tight, and then lock that into place, and there we are. Now we have a single little strip of 2 rows of right angle weave. So it works so much faster when you do it like this, because you can, of course, continue tightening it, but look how neat your right angle weave is. And you'll find that the process of adding the beads after this is way easier when you do it like this. So basically now, at this point, I'm going to weave myself so that both threads are exiting from, so if we just imagine that this is the bottom of our work just here, because this will be how this is what I'll start putting my chevrons onto. We want to make sure that we're exiting from one of the 2 sides. It doesn't matter if you're coming out of this side or if you're coming out of this side. It doesn't matter. Both threads, one needs to come out of the bottom of a right angle weave towards the outside, and the other needs to be from the top of the first right angle weave also towards the outside. So I'll weave myself around. This bead is already in position. See, it's the bottom of the very first right angle weave and towards the outside. So I'm going to go through this one here, all the way through, and now I'm going to go out through that bead there and across to just lock them into place so they're both going in that same direction. See that? And this brings us now into position, ready to start adding our chevrons. So now that we're exiting from these 2 little beads, just pick one of them. It doesn't matter which. I've got 7 beads just there. These are size 10 beads that we've got just here. So see this? This is the first right angle weave. What we're going to do, see how we've got like a spine of beads running down the center of this row of right angle weaves. See there? So this is the bottommost one, then here, then here, then here, then here. We're going to go through every second one. So for example, this bead, I'm going to join it to this bead. I'm going to skip this one here and go into this one. Then I'm going to skip this one here and go into this one. Then skip this one here and go into this one. And so on all the way down our bracelet. So now, if we go down, I'm exiting from this side. What we're going to do is weave across. So we're going to jump across and weave towards the outside again. So see that? There it is in position. So if I just pull that through, there you go. You can see it's going to create this little ridge on the top. But now our thread is back into that same position. We're going to pick up 7 little beads. We're exiting this bead here. We're going to skip the first one. We're going to go into the second one. But just like before, we're going to come from the outside towards the inside, skip that first bead, and then go from the inside towards the outside. So we're threading towards the outside every time. If your thread gets caught, don't worry, just lift it up, and there you go. That's going to add our next one. So now we'll pick up our third color, and once again, we're going to skip the first bead and going from the inside towards the outside. We're going to go through that little bead and pull it all the way through. I'll grab another 7 beads, and that's going to just loop nicely again onto the top of our work. That's part 1 of doing this process. See, that's part 1. So now we're going to do the same thing again. All you have to do is now take the thread, the other thread that we didn't use, and I'll turn it sideways just so that you can sort of see it from a different direction. We're going to skip this first bead here, and if you have a look, there's another size 8 hiding underneath just there. See that one? This is the one we want to go into. So coming out of this is the outside of our work. We're going to loop backwards and go up through that bead just there, pull tight, and that's going to give a little loop next to the other one. See that? Now I'll go 7 more pink beads. I'm exiting from this bead. We're going to skip this first bead, and we're going to go into that one there. So skip one and into the second one, but it'll always be underneath the loop from the previous row. So inside there towards the outside of our work, and then just lift your thread up. There we go. And into that gap. And now I'm exiting 1 bead from the bottom. It doesn't matter which one is at the bottom, and 1 is from the top. See that? 1 from the bottom, 1 from the top. So now what I need to do is weave around so that I am exiting from my second row of beads, but I need to be going towards my other set of work. So if I flip it over, you can see what you're doing a bit better. I'm going to weave around so that, see how my 2 threads, one is exiting this way, one is exiting this way. We want to exit this direction in the same direction, but from this row here. So from this bead and this bead, so it'll be towards our other row. So this thread I'll take through here. Follow the right angle weave, don't jump across. So we'll go up. And now, see, we're going the wrong direction. We don't want to be going out of our work. We want to be going inwards, so I'll go down through that bead, and now into the middle here. So see that? See, now I'm exiting. You know how before, look, see how this thread is exiting in this direction? When I go through here, this thread will be exiting in that same direction. We want to make sure we're always working in the same direction. So I'll put that down. I'll now take my other thread through my work here, so that it is also coming out of that little base. The good thing about doing this process is it also firms up our work on the top. So we can go through there, just follow the right angle weave, follow the natural path, looping around up here, till eventually, there we are, and I'll come out here as well. Now that I can turn it over, see, look, I've got 1 thread exiting here, the other thread, it's on the underside, but it is also exiting here, so that now, turn it over so you can see. That one is just there, this one is just here, and they're both exiting towards this direction. So, very, very easy now to continue. I might start with this thread this time. So see this one here, I'm exiting from this little bead just here. So which row of 7 beads is the closest to that? That's what you've got to examine. This one here is right where this one begins. So see that? The bead beside it, this little bead inside there, this row of 7 is attached to that bead. So the one that's directly across, I want to go through these same beads again. So, first things first, we're going to go up the first 2 beads. See that? Just 2 of the beads. Not any more than that, just 2. Pull your thread tight, make sure it doesn't get caught on any of your other beadwork. There we go. Get that tight, get this tight, there we go. And now I'm exiting from these 2 beads here. I'll turn my work over. We're going to pick up 5 beads this time. The reason we only need to pick up 5 is because if you think about it, this is bead 6 and this is bead 7. So these ones here, there's 5, 6 and 7. And now what we're going to do is exactly the same process. So see how we're exiting this bead here? We're going to skip one bead and go into the second one in the same direction. So you can take the thread all the way through if you want to, and then through these two beads, or while you're there, if you find it easy, you can also go through those two beads. It's up to you whether you do it in one step or in two steps, but pull that tight and that becomes a little chevron shape. So now we're in position. You can see I'm exiting these two blue beads. So if we say this is bead 1, 2, we're going to pick up 5 more, which gives us a total of 7, so that the two sides are symmetrical. We're exiting this bead, skipping the first one, into the second one. So we're working in the same direction, and then I'll go through the first two beads. So if you do this in your hand, I find this easier. See that? You can go through there, and then the two beads. Pull tight. So now that I'm exiting from this bead, first thing that we're going to do is go up through the first two beads of this chevron. So we'll pull that tight, and I'll pick it up again, exiting this bead, skip the first one, and into the second one. So see that there? There's the second one, and then we want to go through the first two beads as well. So see that? There's those first two beads. Go through there, pull it tight, let's get that up above, and there we go. We're exiting this one. We're going to skip this one here and go into the next one, plus the two following beads. See? Pull that up all the way, pull it tight, and there we are. See, it's coming together quickly and nice, isn't it? Into this last one here, down there. And now, if we compare it to where we were before, we've got one thread. If I have a look, one thread from this final right angle weave, just here. One thread is coming out of the top, and one thread is coming out of the bottom of that right angle weave. We can just pull those threads tight. In fact, I'll take this one down through to the bottom so I can see what I'm doing. And there you go. There is your lovely little chevron bracelet. If you want to make it the wider version, all you would have to do now is weave yourself to be exiting from this little bottom bead, and then you can work back down and forth, adding an extra row in right angle weave, then add your chevrons on the top. Then if you want to make it triple width, add another right angle weave, and then add your chevrons on top. Of course, if you want to, you can do the entirety of your base, so all of the right angle weave and then all of the chevrons. It's up to you, but how you do it is not a problem. Whatever you fancy, that's how you can do it. But essentially, that is the technique just there, and how you can turn it into beautiful things like this. So I'm going to show you how to add on your clasp now. I've got my other colorway just here, but you can see this one's double width, so it has two sets of chevrons going down the length of my bracelet. And what I want to do is put one little clasp part at the end of this chevron and another one at the end of this chevron, and then I'll put the other side in the center right at the tip of this one and at the center at the very tip of this one over here. So first things first, pick whichever side you're going to do. It doesn't matter which one, but basically we're going to be working on the back side of our work on our right angle weave base that we made at the beginning. So if we have a look just here, you can see I'm exiting from this little end edge bead just here, but you can also exit from this one, and it doesn't matter if you're on this side or wherever you are, but essentially just as long as you're at the very, very end size 8 bead there that's sticking out from the end. So what we're going to do is create like a little structure around here, and the start of that structure is going to be 6 little seed beads joining one side to the other, and we're going to have one of our size 8 seed beads here in the center to fill this space, which will mean that we can just go round in a circle. So because I'm exiting here towards the outside, I'm going to do the size 10 seed beads first, and then I'll add the little size 8 one after that. So you can choose any of your colors here. So just pick up 6 beads and loop around to the other side of the other bead. So if you have a look, this one here and this one here, these are the end of this chevron. So these are the ones we're going to work with. So we'll go through that and into this bead, sort of in a circle shape towards where the other bead of this group is. And if you pull that, it creates like this little circle. Now, the reason we're going to put a bead in here is so that we don't have to weave all around to try and come back out of here. Instead, if you just pick up one size 8 seed bead, you can just jump straight into that other bead there, and you don't have to worry about trying to wiggle all your way around, go through there, then down there. You don't have to bother with any of that. We can just go straight from one side into the other, and we can go through this once again to secure it. So I'll go through the whole thing just once more until we're back over here, and I want to be exiting, just make sure your thread doesn't get caught there, and I want to be exiting from the third of these 6 smaller beads. So 1, 2, 3, see that? So we'll have 3 on one side, 3 on the other, and we're going to come up just here. So we're going to pick up 2 seed beads, one of our 6mm round crystals, and 1 more seed bead. So we'll just slide them on down to our work. You can see I've done a different color. You can do it the same color if you want to. It's up to you. But basically we want to use this last little bead, almost like a stopper on the end, that will plug this into place. So we can go down here, and then holding onto this, we can just pull tight, and it will almost plug that little bead right onto the end of our work just here. See that? And that's going to give it like a nice little stopper. And if we just check, you can see this little 2 group of beads, they're only connected on the one side. So we'll go down these 2 beads and into the other side of those 3 beads just there. Go through and all the way through the middle till we're coming out on the other side again. And then back up so that we're exiting from the top of our little 6mm crystal. You don't need to go through that little bead at the very, very top, just the crystal. So there we are. So we're coming out now, and what we're going to do, we're going to sort of decorate this with some of the beads that we're using and add like a nice outer edge decoration to our beads. So if we pick up 7 seed beads, we're exiting from the top, so we're going to just loop back around and through this same crystal bead just around there, so that it creates like a nice little row of beads along the edge of our crystal here. There we go. Like that there. So now we'll do that again, and I'm going to use a different color this time. So 7 more, loop around, back through there, and as you pull tight, make sure your thread stays above your previous row, and pull tight, and there's another one. And we're going to just repeat that, adding more and more of these little loops around the edge until we have about maybe 6 or 7, maybe 8, whatever you think looks good or is comfortable. If you want to see some of the bead underneath, that's fine. It's up to you however many you do. But just repeat that process with 7 beads each time until you're happy. Well, there we go. I think that gives us a nice, neat little ball on the end there. And now at this point, we can just make sure there's that one little bead that we added at the very beginning. Just go back through that bead and down the center of your crystal one last time. There we go. Pull through and back down the 2 beads of the center. And now we're going to weave around until we're exiting from one of the little size 8 beads at the top over here. So either this one here or this one here. But essentially you can just pass down your work and weave over to that position. Again, either one of the beads will be fine. Up here. See, and there we go. Now we're exiting from this last little size 8 here, which is part of this second chevron. So we can just repeat this process to add on our second little ball in the same way. So we're going to do something a little bit different on this end. This time we're going to have a similar structure, but instead of making a little ball end, we're going to create like a nice loop section. So once again, make sure you're exiting from the very end of your work. So there's one of my little size 8s just there. I'm exiting from this one here. We'll create a little loop of 6 beads here, and then we'll add 1 in the center, same as before. So pick up 6, loop through, and pull tight. Then 1 size 8, and across into the other end. There we go. And that's going to give us that structure for doing the loop part. So again, go up through the first 3 of those beads and pull tight. And now we're going to create a loop with 26 little beads. So pick up 26 beads and slide them on down to that little triangle there. Now we're going to just loop back, pass through these last 2 little beads just here, and then down the second side of our little triangle here. So pull that tight, and you'll see it creates a nice little loop at the end here, which we can then just secure in the same way by passing through the end, back up our little triangle, and then go around the loop again. till you get back to the beginning here, and then down, back into the end of your work, which if you turn it over, that's going to complete that, and we just have to weave around now until we're exiting from one of these 2 beads here, and we can create a second one for our other clasp loop at the very, very end. So there you can see I've added 1 ball on one end, 1 loop on the other. Obviously you would need to add on your second loop at this side and your second ball on this side, but basically when you go to wear it, all you would have to do is just loop that little bit over that ball, and that will give you a nice connection, and you can wear that bracelet very easily, very comfortably on your wrist.